I didn't think twice. I smashed that $1,000,000 vase, picked out 2 smooth shards, tied them to a strip of cloth, and made myself a pair of makeshift goggles. I'd been trapped in this mansion for days, and the only way out was to pry open the vent in the ceiling. Turns out the goggles actually worked. At least they blocked most of the cement dust falling down. I pushed with everything I had until a chunk of concrete finally came loose. I tried twisting the screws, but they wouldn't budge. I refused to quit. I dug at the frame with my knife, only to fall into new despair. The vent was sealed with bulletproof glass, locked down by 12 screws. Right then, the security system kicked in. The whole house dropped to freezing in seconds. I had no choice but to wrap myself in a blanket and hold out. On the monitor, I spotted a janitor sitting outside the door. I banged on a pot, slammed the steel door, desperate to get his attention. But the door was soundproof, and outside he had a vacuum running. He couldn't hear a thing. I even wrote a note begging for help. Tried sliding it through the gap, but it was too tight. Not even paper could pass. I could only watch him leave, and with him my last bit of hope. Luckily, the temperature slowly came back to normal. I found a hidden room with dog food and bones inside. I had no other choice. Then the sprinklers went off. I dropped to the floor and drank the cold water straight off the ground just to stay alive. I went back to working on tools. I kicked the leg off a stool, carved the tip with my knife into the shape of a screw, turned it into a crude wrench. The first try snapped. I made another. This time I managed to loosen 1 screw. 11 more to go. But that tiny bit of progress lit a fire in me again. The days blurred together. When I was hungry, I gnawed on scraps. When I was tired, I slept. When I was awake, I made tools and kept working on those screws, one by one, until I got to the last one. I slipped, fell hard, and broke my leg. In that moment, I was ready to give up completely. All I could do was rest and wait until I could move again. Later, I looked up and noticed the smoke detector blinking. I stuffed paper into a bowl, used a magnifying glass to spark a flame, made a torch, and held it up. Sure enough, the sprinklers exploded, pouring water down like a storm. I thought maybe the chaos would unlock the doors. I rushed over, but the lock held tight. Drained of all strength, I collapsed by the door and passed out. When I woke the next morning, the mansion was flooded. I grabbed my wrench, climbed up to the vent, and made one last try. Against all odds, this time it worked. The vent opened and I climbed out.